So you've probably heard about E, also known as Euler's number, and yes, that is how you say it because even though Leonhard Euler was Swiss, his last name Euler is German. You might even know that E approximates to 2.72, but what really is Euler's number and how can we use it? Well, to start off with, what is the exact value of E? In an equation, E is 1 over n exponential, where n is 0 to infinity. As it goes to infinity, it is irrational and you can't figure out an exact value of E, but you can get an approximation by figuring it out either by hand, with some Python code, or with a Desmos graph. If we were to draw a graph, we can see that it's constantly getting closer and closer to a point, but it can never reach E because, well, we can't draw a graph to infinity. If we were to figure out E by hand though, we'd simply start with n as 0, then continuously add and add until our brains hurt, and then we'd get the sum of all the previous results from all of the n values and add them together, and you should get close to E. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This is all well and good, but how is it useful and why is it so important? Well, to start off, E, unlike a bunch of other famous numbers such as pi or the square root of 2, is not about shapes or geometry, but about growth or rate of change, which is why it's very helpful when dealing with compound interest. For an example of this, let's imagine that at the start of a year you have $1, and by the end of the year you'll get 100% interest, which means that you'll have $2 by the end of the year. Now, let's say that you split that 100% up into two segments of 50%, one halfway through the year and one right at the end. That means that after the first half of the year, you'll get to $1.50. But by the second half, once the year's completed, you'll go up to $2.25, which means that you'll have more money overall. Now let's say you did it 8 times a year, or 16, or whatever. You can do it every second if you really like. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger, but the improvement is going to get smaller and smaller till eventually you end up at E. And you can see this if you work it out. The actual equation for it is, and this bit's in brackets by the way, it's 1 plus 1 over however many times you've split it up into. So if you're doing 8 times in a year, it would be 1 plus 1 over 8. And then remember how I said it was in brackets earlier? That segment to the power of how many times you split it up. So if you're doing it 8 times in a year, it would be 1 plus 1 over 8, and then all of that to the power of 8. There are also implications for Euler's number in gambling, but I'm not going to talk about that in a YouTube video, though if you are interested, please feel free to Google it. Another couple facts about E are that it's the 5th letter in the alphabet, and on wordfind.com there are listed 2,815 words that start with the letter E. Unfortunately, that's all there is in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll probably try to make more things like this in the future. Thanks for watching.